May I have the salt?
What do we say?
Now.
The original Addams Family, dark, twisted, and delightfully eccentric, delighted audiences with its quirky charm and creepy humor, but behind the iconic black and white scenes were secrets as dark as the Addamses themselves. From shocking behind-the-scenes secrets to eerie coincidences that will send shivers down your spine, this beloved TV classic has a few skeletons in its closet. Quite literally. Join us as we unravel the 10 most mysterious and macabre secrets of the original Addams Family. But to understand the secrets behind the Addams Family, let's first take a look at its beginnings.
Then if you learn how to dance well, she'll think you're boss.
Boss.
Neat. Groovy. Come on, try it.
The origins of a darkly charming legacy. Long before the TV series, the Addamses came to life through the pen of Charles Addams, a talented cartoonist for The New Yorker. His one-panel cartoons featured a peculiar family who loved everything creepy and spooky. Morticia, the elegant and mysterious matriarch, appeared first, followed by Gomez, her quirky and enthusiastic husband. Over the years, Addams introduced more characters, including Wednesday, Pugsley, Uncle Fester, and even the lovable but eerie hand Thing. What made Charles Addams unique was his ability to blend dark humor with heartwarming moments. His cartoons, which first appeared in the late 1930s, quickly became iconic. By the time the 1964 TV series premiered, these characters already had a cult following. But the transition from cartoons to television wasn't without its challenges. Addams had to name his characters and give them backstories for the first time. This was a big leap, but it set the stage for the beloved TV adaptation that would follow. When the show aired in 1964, it instantly captured audiences. However, bringing the Addams Family to life wasn't as smooth as it seemed. Producer David Levy saw potential in Charles Addams's work and convinced him to adapt the cartoons for TV. Interestingly, while Addams agreed, he didn't have much involvement in the series after naming the characters. The production team added a lighter comedic twist to the family, making them less sinister than in the original cartoons, and the result was a quirky, lovable group of oddballs that everyone adored. But the Addams Family's story doesn't end with their timeless charm. It's filled with hidden details and surprising twists that even the most devoted fans might not know. What are these secrets? Let's start with the creepy truth behind the Addams Family house. When you think of the Addams Family mansion, you probably imagine a spooky, otherworldly place built on a Hollywood soundstage. But did you know that the house was real? Located at 21 Chester Place in Los Angeles, this Victorian-style home served as the exterior for the family's eerie abode in the 1964-66 TV series. Of course, the crew added their own flair to the house, using props and special effects to give it a more sinister vibe. For instance, they added a third-floor tower to create that signature spooky silhouette. Unfortunately, you can't visit the house today. It was part of Mount St. Mary's College, and in a rather un-Addams-like move, the school tore it down to build a parking lot. And so the ultimate creepy paradise was replaced by a mundane stretch of asphalt. It's a bittersweet ending for such an iconic piece of TV history. Interestingly, Charles Addams, the creator of the Addams Family, had his own fascinating home in real life. According to the Washington Post, Addams lived in a midtown penthouse that perfectly reflected his dark sense of humor. The centerpiece of his living room was an embalming table from the Civil War, complete with suspicious stains. Addams turned it into a coffee table by covering it with glass. But that wasn't all. His walls were decorated with medieval weapons, especially crossbows, which he adored. And when he poured drinks for guests, they weren't served in regular glasses, they were poured into goblets. Addams also had a love for taxidermy, keeping preserved snakes, piranhas, and anatomical models with removable organs around his home. His quirky taste extended to his dog, Alice B. Kerr, whom he adopted for a unique reason. Addams once said, "They told me this dog hated children, and I said, great, I'll take it." Despite his spooky persona, Addams had a softer side. He enjoyed surprising guests with odd treasures like a human thigh bone, but he also cared deeply for his fans. NPR noted that he befriended a disabled fan and often gave rides to his friend's brother in his luxury cars, including an Aston Martin and a Bentley. The Addams Family house may be gone, but the stories surrounding its creator's real-life, haunted home keep the macabre magic alive. The Addams Family's animated adventure with Scooby-Doo. In 1972, two iconic worlds collided when the Addams Family made their animated debut on the new Scooby-Doo movies. It was a match made in spooky heaven. On one side, you had Mystery Incorporated, Fred, Daphne, Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby, known for solving mysteries and running into ghosts. On the other side, the Addams Family, who didn't just encounter the creepy and kooky, they embraced it. The crossover episode, titled Wednesday is Missing, saw the Scooby Gang visiting the Addams' eerie mansion to solve the mystery of Wednesday's disappearance. The episode was filled with spooky humor and unexpected twists, making it a standout in the series. Fans loved seeing the two worlds come together, with the Scooby Gang reacting to the Addams' bizarre antics while trying to stay professional. But what made this episode even more special were the voices behind the characters. Many original cast members from the 1964 Addams Family TV series returned to voice their roles, including John Astin as Gomez, Carolyn Jones as Morticia, Jackie Coogan as Uncle Fester, and Ted Cassidy as Lurch. It added an authentic touch that fans appreciated. Plus, there was a surprising addition. 11-year-old Jodie Foster, who would later become an Oscar-winning actress, voiced Pugsley Addams. A future Hollywood star was getting her start with the Addams and Scooby-Doo. This episode was such a hit that it became the unofficial pilot for the Addams Family's very own animated series, which premiered the following year in 1973. The Saturday morning cartoon gave fans a new way to enjoy their favorite creepy family, this time with colorful animation and even more wild adventures. It's fascinating to think about how these two iconic groups came together, even if just for one episode. The Addams Family and Mystery Incorporated might seem like an odd pair, but their shared love for the spooky made them the perfect team. And while Wednesday is Missing was just the beginning for the animated Addams, it remains a beloved moment in both franchises' histories. The surprising secrets behind the Addams Family theme song. Once you hear the Addams Family theme song, it's impossible to forget. The catchy tune, those iconic finger snaps, it's all part of what made the family so memorable. But did you know this famous song is the reason the 1991 live-action movie exists? It's a story as quirky as the Addamses themselves. Back in the early 90s, Scott Rudin, a producer at 20th Century Fox, was riding in a van with some studio executives. During the ride, one of the executives' children started singing the Addams Family theme song. It didn't take long for everyone in the van to join in, singing every note and lyric perfectly. As Rudin later told the Los Angeles Times, that spontaneous sing-along sparked an idea. Why not bring the Addams Family back to life on the big screen? The next day, he pitched the idea, and the 1991 movie was born. It's amazing to think such a beloved film came from something as simple as a car ride. But the story doesn't end there. Let's go back to the origin of that unforgettable song. Vic Mizzy was the man behind the music. Not only did he write the theme song for the original 1964 TV series, but he also performed it. But did you know that Mizzy sang all three vocal parts himself? The studio wanted to save money, so instead of hiring a group of singers, Mizzy recorded his voice multiple times, layering the tracks to create the illusion of a trio. The result was a theme song that's been fooling us for decades. It's clever, cost-effective, and undeniably brilliant. But Mizzy's talent didn't stop there. He was also responsible for another famous TV theme, the one for Green Acres. Clearly, he had a knack for crafting tunes that stick in your head. But it's the Addams Family theme that cemented his legacy. Its simple melody, playful lyrics, and those snaps have become iconic, instantly recognizable even today. The secret casting twist behind Uncle Fester. Imagine a world where Uncle Fester and Hannibal Lecter were played by the same actor. That could have happened because Sir Anthony Hopkins was originally considered for the role of Uncle Fester in the 1991 Addams Family movie. At the time, Hopkins was already a big name in Hollywood, but he had his eyes set on another project. He turned down the role of the quirky and lovable Fester to portray the chilling Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs. It was a bold choice, but one that paid off. Hopkins went on to win an Oscar for his terrifying performance. With Hopkins out, the search for Uncle Fester continued, and the role eventually went to Christopher Lloyd. Fans already knew Lloyd for his eccentric portrayal of Doc Brown in Back to the Future, but stepping into Fester's shoes was a whole new challenge. Surprisingly, despite being a huge fan of the original Addams Family cartoons, Lloyd was incredibly nervous about the role. He had adored Uncle Fester as a child and was thrilled to get the call, but once filming began, he felt he wasn't doing the character justice. Lloyd admitted that in the early stages of production, he lived in constant fear of being fired. When he was called in for a meeting after filming a test scene, he was convinced he was about to be recast. But he was relieved when he found out the meeting wasn't about his performance, but about his makeup. Speaking of which, initially, Lloyd wore heavy prosthetics to give him Fester's signature look, but the creative team decided they were too restrictive. They thought the prosthetics were limiting my facial expressions, so we chucked the prosthetics, Lloyd later said. With simpler makeup, Lloyd felt more comfortable and was able to bring Fester's quirky, lovable personality to life. His portrayal became one of the most iconic elements of the film. Interestingly, even Uncle Fester's costume had a unique backstory. The fat suit Lloyd wore in the film had previously been used in The Godfather Part 2. Actor Bruno Kirby wore it in 1974 and passed it along to Lloyd for his transformation into Fester. It's strange to think about such a piece of Hollywood history connecting two completely different worlds, but it's fitting for the Addams family's quirky vibe. As if the casting drama wasn't enough, there was another twist behind the scenes. In the original script, Uncle Fester wasn't supposed to be the real Fester. Instead, he was written as an imposter trying to con the Addams family. This plot point caused an uproar among the cast, especially Christina Ricci, who played Wednesday Addams. During a table read, the cast expressed their outrage, and Ricci took the lead in convincing the writers to change the story. She passionately argued that Fester had to be the real Fester for the family dynamic to work. Her reasoning was so compelling that the creative team rewrote 20 pages of the script to align with her vision. Producer Scott Rudin later called Ricci a brilliant spokesperson, which was a high compliment for someone so young, and so the changes paid off. The rewritten script allowed Lloyd to fully embrace the role of Fester, and his portrayal became a highlight of the movie. While Hopkins found his calling as Hannibal Lecter, Lloyd's Fester brought humor, warmth, and a touch of madness that perfectly fit the Addams family world. In the end, everything worked out for the best, with Hopkins earning his Oscar and Lloyd giving us an unforgettable Fester. And that is certainly an Addams family secret worth snapping your fingers to. The secrets behind Morticia's iconic role. When it comes to Morticia Addams, no one embodied the role quite like Angelica Houston in the 1991 Addams Family movie. Her elegance, mystery, and dark humor brought the character to life in a way that has stayed with fans ever since. But the journey to create such an unforgettable Morticia was full of surprising twists and challenges. Originally, the studio had someone very different in mind for the role, Cher. With her deep voice and striking look, Cher seemed like a natural fit for Morticia. But the film's director and producer, Scott Rudin, thought casting her would steal the spotlight from the rest of the family. As Rudin explained, "We didn't want it to be about stars." Instead, they chose Houston, who brought a unique blend of grace and quirkiness to the role. Looking back, it's hard to imagine anyone else as Morticia. But did you know that Houston's transformation into Morticia was no small feat? To truly capture the character's eerie glow, the hair and makeup team worked tirelessly. According to screenwriter Paul Rudnick, they developed a special lighting technique that gave Morticia an almost supernatural aura. Her eyes were always highlighted with a white beam of light, adding to her mysterious and captivating look. Watching the film, it's hard not to notice how this small detail makes Morticia stand out in every scene. But Morticia's beauty came with its challenges. Houston had to wear a metal corset to create Morticia's exaggerated silhouette, those impossibly narrow hips and tiny waist. The corset was so restrictive that Houston couldn't relax while wearing it, She even admitted that being lashed into it was one of the hardest parts of playing the character. But the effort paid off, as Morticia's stunning, otherworldly figure became an essential part of her presence. To prepare for the role, Huston drew inspiration from an unexpected source: the 1975 documentary Grey Gardens. The film follows the eccentric aunt and cousin of Jacqueline Kennedy, who lived in a crumbling mansion surrounded by chaos. Huston felt their bizarre, detached lifestyle reflected the Addams family's peculiar charm. This bit of research helped her channel Morticia's poise and acceptance of all things strange. Even getting into character required hours of preparation. Christopher Lloyd, Uncle Fester, and Carol Kane, Grandmama, spent 3 hours each day in hair and makeup, but Huston had the most elaborate process. From her perfectly styled black hair to her glowing complexion, everything about Morticia screamed iconic. It's no wonder fans still talk about her look today. These behind-the-scenes efforts weren't just about appearances. They were about creating a Morticia who was self-assured, confident, and deeply in love with her family. Huston's Morticia wasn't just spooky, she was intoxicating, blending charm with a touch of danger. Her chemistry with Gomez, played by Raul Julia, remains one of the most beloved aspects of the film. The secret behind Gomez Addams' wild look. One of the most unforgettable things about Gomez Addams in the 1964 Addams Family series was his manic expression. Played brilliantly by John Astin, Gomez's wild eyes and frenzied grin added a spark of madness to his charm. But did you know that this crazed look wasn't in the original Addams Family comics? In fact, it was something Astin brought to the role himself, and the story behind it is just as quirky as the character. Before becoming the Gomez we all know and love, John Astin lived in a less than glamorous part of New York City. Walking home through some shady areas, he developed a survival trick, acting completely insane. By exaggerating his facial expressions and making erratic movements, he made himself look so unhinged that people left him alone. It worked as a defense mechanism, but little did he know it would later inspire one of TV's most iconic characters. When Astin got the role of Gomez, he realized the character was meant to be a bit unbalanced. A man deeply in love with his wife, full of mischief, and embracing life with a wild passion. Drawing from his New York City days, he used that same crazy expression to bring Gomez to life. His exaggerated looks and unpredictable energy made Gomez stand out, perfectly capturing the spirit of the Addams family's quirky charm. But Astin's unique approach didn't just add depth to Gomez, it became one of the character's defining features. Whether he was passionately kissing Morticia's arm or devising a ridiculous scheme, his manic energy kept viewers glued to the screen. Gomez wasn't just a wealthy oddball, he was a man completely consumed by his zest for life, and Astin's performance made sure everyone felt it. What's even more fascinating is how Astin's personal experiences blended so seamlessly with Gomez's personality. That wild expression wasn't just a quirky choice, it came from a real place, adding authenticity to the character. Fans loved it, and to this day, Astin's Gomez remains one of the most beloved interpretations of the role. And that's how John Astin turned a survival trick into TV gold. The evolution of Thing. Did you know that Thing, the peculiar yet endearing hand from the Addams family, wasn't always the character we know today? In the early New Yorker comics, Thing first appeared as more than just a disembodied hand. He was drawn helping Gomez change records, his full form implied but never shown. You see, Charles Addams, the creator, initially imagined Thing as a complete being but decided to limit him to just hands. Why? Because it was simpler for audiences and added an air of mystery. But when the Addams family transitioned to television in the 1960s, Thing's role evolved. He became a hand in a box, popping out at just the right moments to assist the Addamses. Whether handing Morticia a cup of tea or helping Lurch tidy up, Thing was always there, ready to lend a hand. Quite literally. And so this version of Thing quickly became a fan favorite. The idea of a loyal, detached hand that could communicate and interact with the family was bizarre, yet strangely charming. Fast forward to the 1990s, and Thing got another makeover for the live-action Addams Family films. This time, he wasn't confined to a box. Instead, Thing became a fully mobile hand, crawling and jumping around like a spider. His movements were fluid and expressive, giving him a personality that fans adored. Thing wasn't just a helper anymore. He became a character in his own right, capable of showing emotions and even getting involved in action scenes. What makes Thing so fascinating is how much personality he conveys despite being just a hand. His gestures, whether a wave, a tap, or an enthusiastic thumbs up, speak volumes. He's resourceful, loyal, and always ready to assist in the Addams family's strange escapades. Whether he's popping out of a box or skittering across the floor, Thing continues to captivate fans, proving that sometimes less really is more. The role swap and the multi-talented Ted Cassidy. When it comes to the Addams family, the cast has always been a major part of its charm. But did you know there were some fascinating role swaps and multi-talented performances behind the scenes? Let's start with Grandmama. In the 1991 Addams Family film, Judith Malina played the mischievous and spell-loving Grandmama. Her character embodied the stereotypical witch, always brewing potions, casting spells, and delighting in fortune-telling. Malina's performance fit the eerie and humorous tone of the film perfectly. But when it came time for the sequel, Addams Family Values, the directors decided to take a different route. Enter Carol Kane, a seasoned actress with a knack for quirky roles. Kane already knew some of the cast members and had a natural chemistry with them. This connection made her the ideal choice for Grandmama in the second movie. Reflecting on her experience, Kane once said, "It was just nice to be a part of that group that I already loved." Her addition to the cast brought a fresh energy to the role while maintaining the character's magical and eccentric essence. Fans loved her take on Grandmama, and her performance ensured the character remained a beloved part of the Addams Family universe. Now, let's talk about Ted Cassidy, one of the standout stars of the 1964 Addams Family TV series. Lurch was best known for his role as Lurch, the towering butler with a deep voice. But did you know that Lurch wasn't originally meant to have much of a voice? He was supposed to be mute. But during one scene, Ted Cassidy, who played Lurch, ad-libbed the now famous line, "You rang?" The line was so perfectly delivered that it cracked up the director and instantly became part of the character. This one moment gave Lurch a more prominent role in the series, and Cassidy brought him to life with his dry humor and unexpected charm. What's even more surprising is how popular Lurch became with teenage girls. Cassidy started receiving mountains of fan mail, with many young fans declaring that Lurch was cuter than the Beatles. Imagine that. This solemn, slow-moving butler became a teen heartthrob. His appeal even inspired the episode Lurch, the Teenage Idol, where Lurch becomes a pop star after showing off his harpsichord skills. In the story, he's mobbed by adoring fans, but quickly realizes that fame isn't for him. It's incredible to think how a character meant to be silent transformed into a fan favorite thanks to one improvised line. Lurch's strong yet quirky persona, combined with Cassidy's unique performance, struck a chord with audiences, proving that even the quietest characters can leave the loudest impressions. Teen girls clearly loved the not-so-silent type, and Lurch's unexpected charm continues to make him one of the most memorable members of the Addams family. But what many fans don't realize is that Cassidy also played another iconic character, Thing. That's right. Cassidy lent his hand to bring Thing to life. Whenever you saw Thing darting out of a box or assisting the family, it was often Cassidy's hand in the spotlight. But the question is, how did he manage to play both characters? That's where things get interesting. If Lurch and Thing needed to appear in the same scene, Cassidy couldn't do both. In those cases, associate producer Jack Vogelin stepped in to lend a hand as Thing. Despite being just a disembodied hand, Cassidy gave Thing a personality that matched the Addams family's quirky charm. His ability to bring two such different characters to life, Lurch's solemn demeanor and Thing's lively energy, showcased his incredible range as an actor. You see, the magic of the Addams family wasn't just in its spooky charm, it was in the extraordinary people who brought it to life. The fiery secret of Gomez Addams's suit. Gomez Addams, the charming and eccentric head of the Addams family, had many quirks, but one that stood out was his love for cigars. He didn't just puff away at them, he'd casually stash them, still lit, into his suit pockets. It was the kind of peculiar behavior that added to his character's chaotic charm. But from a safety perspective, it was a recipe for disaster. So, how did the production team make it work without setting John Astin, the actor behind Gomez, on fire? The solution was unconventional and, by today's standards, shocking. The props department lined Astin's suit pockets with asbestos, a material they believed could prevent fires. At the time, asbestos was commonly used in fireproofing, and no one fully understood its dangers. For the team, it seemed like the perfect way to make Gomez's peculiar habits safe for TV. Interestingly, Astin himself was a cigar smoker, so having a convenient place to put them probably felt natural. While it worked for the show, the idea of using asbestos in clothing feels downright risky today. Despite this, Gomez's cigar antics became one of his signature traits. Did Tim Burton secretly direct the Addams Family movies? When the Addams Family hit theaters in 1991, fans immediately noticed its eerie yet whimsical tone, sparking a persistent rumor. Did Tim Burton direct this? The misconception made sense. Burton was already famous for his unique style in films like Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands. The Addams Family's gothic mansion, quirky characters, and macabre humor felt like they were plucked straight from Burton's imagination. In reality, the movie was directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, best known for Men in Black, with assistance from Dave Payne. Sonnenfeld also directed the sequel, Addams Family Values. Both films captured the essence of the Addamses perfectly, dark, humorous, and full of heart. The sets, costumes, and overall atmosphere were so well done that fans couldn't help but believe Burton had a hand in it. But the truth was that Burton had no involvement in either film. While his signature style seems like a natural fit for the Addams Family, Sonnenfeld and Payne brought their own creative vision to the project. They focused on balancing the macabre with lighthearted humor, creating a world that felt spooky yet accessible. This unique approach is what made the movies so memorable and kept audiences coming back for more. Their ability to craft a world both eerie and inviting didn't just make the movies unforgettable. It ensured the Addams Family would remain a cultural phenomenon, the Addams Family legacy. Although the original show only ran for 2 seasons, its impact was monumental. After its cancellation in 1966, the Addams Family lived on through syndication, animated adaptations, and feature films. The 1977 Halloween special reunited most of the original cast, but it wasn't well received due to production issues. Despite this, fans never stopped loving the Addamses. The characters were revived for several animated series, including crossovers with Scooby-Doo. But it wasn't until the 1990s movies, The Addams Family and Addams Family Values, that they regained mainstream popularity. These films introduced the macabre family to a new generation, solidifying their place in pop culture. Today, the Addams Family continues to inspire. From Broadway musicals to Netflix reboots, their quirky charm remains timeless. But behind the dark humor and catchy theme song, there's a deeper lesson. No matter how unusual you are, love and family are what truly matter. What do you think about these fascinating behind-the-scenes secrets? Did any of them completely surprise you? And which character do you think stole the show? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more incredible stories from Hollywood's fascinating history. See you next time.